We really don't want to push that well any further than we need to, so we're going to be bringing in a water truck to get this pond filled and initially started up. Welcome to Hiner Outdoor Living. We're a team of yardists taking boring, cookie-cutter yards and transforming them into one-of-a-kind backyard retreats. Join us as we bring quality, passion, and fun to yards all across the Colorado Front Range, inspiring life outside. So we started this project back in late fall. It's about October, November sometime. What we did is we kind of worked with their existing landscape and added a lot of character with 2 water features to capture all the angles of the house. Now we're coming back for planting, just because obviously here in Colorado you can't plant in November or October. We really planned this pond to be more of a water garden than a koi pond. This client really likes their plants and they really like experimenting with gardening, and aquatic gardening is just a whole different aspect that they can have fun with. You can see how we have some of these lower edges where you can have some marginals, and then by this plant it looks like it's just gravel, but if you remove a little bit of that gravel, there's actually a base of water there to where you can even put aquatic plants there. And then what happens over time is the aquatic plants start maturing, the terrestrial plants start maturing, and you have no idea what becomes aquatic and what becomes terrestrial, and it just blends in and makes it look like it has been there since the beginning of time. This is what I like to call our Splash of Boulder series. By having a couple of those big present boulders, it enhances the enjoyment of the water feature from a farther distance. We always try to design these water features just as much inside of the house as we do outside on the deck and the patio and all the other outdoor living areas. The strategy behind doing 2 separate systems is because they wanted the sights and sounds of water throughout their whole backyard, but it just didn't make sense to create this huge pond that would have to sustain a stream that went across the whole backyard. So what we did is we actually incorporated 2 water features to capture every single angle from the house. One thing that's different about this pond than the pond is this one is actually called our Cobble series, because this water feature actually is a little bit closer to the areas of enjoyment. Presence of those big boulders weren't as needed as, say, the pond, where it's a little bit further back from the house. So even when we say our Cobble series, they don't start with cobble rocks. They actually start with 1.5 to 2 foot, sometimes 2.5 foot rocks if it makes sense in the area. If you go smaller, what ends up happening is you end up stacking a bunch of little rock, and it can't avoid but making it look man-made. In this particular place, we used driftwood just because it's a forest area. So as you can see, the way we incorporated the driftwood on the sides of the waterfalls, on the sides of the pond, really look integrated into the natural surrounding areas. There's a low point right here. So I have to possibly pull that liner up a little bit more. Right here you can see that there is a little bit of a low liner that, you know, we're gonna definitely have to take that liner, pull it up, and compact it just to make sure that when we do fill it up, it doesn't go over the edges of the pond.
So I'm pretty sure that the whole reason why this was leaking was just because it was folded bad. So this right here was laid down like that, and this fold starts down here. So even though the liner was tall enough, we had this gap in the middle that the water was able to run through. So when it's folded and pushed down, that's going to be below our water line, and your water is going to come out just through that fold. I found a bunch of water like in this channel here, so I'm going to dig it up under this and bring it around the rock. It
Sounds
looks like
good.
there's more than enough.
Do me a favor and even leave this exposed until we get water in.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I'm going to pull it up and fold it a little bit better. Could potentially have been a bad fold as well, because that fold starts so low. If the water levels up higher than that fold, we're gonna get water that's gonna come out of it. I didn't have to move any boulders, which is nice.
One thing that I realized when we had the water feature running was some of the water was actually going behind the rock, and let me show you why. It's because this area right here had no foam in it. So what this foam does is it allows the water to go over the foam and over the rock rather than behind it. So without these, we wouldn't be able to create those cascading waterfalls because all of that water would go behind the void space. One thing about these clients is they're very conscious of their water usage. And believe it or not,
A misconception with water features is that they take a lot of water. And the truth is that they don't. It takes up a fraction of the water that grass does. We're on a well, and we really don't want to push that well any further than we need to. So we're gonna be bringing in a water truck to get this pond filled and initially started up.
How quick is your pump?
Oh, yeah. 110 gallons.
A minute? Oh, okay.
I can turn it way up.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Probably fuel this stream too. The same thing.
Good thing you want too much more because it's about 100 gallons of water left.
Oh, okay, good deal. Yeah, all right. Well,
Probably about 1,800.
that drive would put me to 3. I can do it.
The planting plan for this project was inspired by our natural setting here in the forest. The plants were just supposed to enhance what they've already got out here, which is just being in a beautiful pine tree forest. I am trying to work on a little bit of screening in certain areas. They have a hot tub going in, so I did strategically place certain plants over there so that they'll grow up and kind of screen that area, but also keep the view of the stars above. You're going to see the warm colors, you're going to see natural stones, even the mulch, the type of mulch ground cover that we're using is really more of a natural style because of all the pine needles that fall. We didn't want something that would have to be a big maintenance nightmare when that happens each year.
Thing I noticed when we had the water feature running was where we split the stream into 2 falls. One side was heavier than the other side, and I wanted to even out the stream on both sides. What I did is I moved some of the rock underneath, and just to raise up the water level just a little bit on this area to kind of help divert it over to the other side, I went ahead and foamed behind this big boulder just so it can move around the rock a little bit more evenly rather than forcing too much of the water to the other side where it had a lot of flow, but I wanted a little bit more flow on both sides.
We are second to last day here, finishing up all the details, sweeping, cleaning, making sure we get all the tags off the plants, and making sure everything's gonna look great for our final walkthrough with the homeowners tomorrow morning. Everything's looking really great. I think we're gonna be so happy.
Got this job all wrapped up. We have some awesome water features coming up on the way, so stay tuned, come back, check them out. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell, get notifications for when we're coming up. Typically every Thursday around 4 o'clock. Thank you and see you soon.